wayside because everybody thinks they got to have a college degree. And this is for me, someone who does have a college degree, but I'm not using my major like most people. I was recently talking to someone, one of our graduates in his 20s. I was talking to one of his relatives. The kid's pulling down six figures, never went to college. Now you teenagers, look, if you're not going to go into ministry, and look, some of you shouldn't be in the ministry. I know you pretty well. You ought to be going out and you ought to go out, forget college, go get a good trade. Man, buy me a 69 Firebird one day, man. Now, now they got a bunch of donations from the Egyptians. They were borrowed from them. Now, if you read the passages, the Egyptians were saying, please take this, take it. They just wanted them to get out. They just had all their firstborn die. Egypt, in the Bible is a picture of the world. This is a side note here. What has the world given you? Oh, I protest, sir. Well, has the world given you your income? You actually earned that, right? You went out and worked for it. Did you earn all the money that's being added to your 401k? Recently going down, but normally for the long term? Have your investments been you? No. You threw some money in some pot. Some of you probably look at it every day, which you're crazy to do that, but you go crazy. But you threw a bunch of money in stuff, and 20, 30 years later, you think, wow, there's a lot of money in there. Or your home. You had a lot to do with how much it's gone up, right? The world has given us a lot of stuff. And we got to be giving it to God, amen. That's something. That's just on the side. That's free. Picture number 3, turn that on. This is a top view, that yellow kind of a three-sided thing. That's what we're going to be talking about here, the tabernacle or the tent. Now, look, oh, by the way, you're not going to read this, but later on in Exodus, it says this, and every wise-hearted man among them that wrought the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine linen, twined linen. The men did the work. Now, the ladies, they did some spinning of things, some fibers. They probably created some fabric. But guess who did the needlepoint? Yeah, I wouldn't call them a sissy either. If you've just been on slave for 400 years, you one tough dude. I wouldn't be laughing about. But they did all the needlework too. They did all the sewing. It was all done by men. Look at Exodus chapter 26. Exodus chapter 26, verse 1. Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet. With the cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them. Put in picture number 4, and you guys go out there and start. You guys that are doing the little sheet, come out and start doing that. You 4 guys, work on that right now. Now, linen. Linen is really one of the oldest fabrics in the world. It's made from stuff called flax, the stalk of the flax plant, pretty common over there. It's very, very durable fabric. If you've ever gone to a nice restaurant, like, Taco Bell, you go into some place really nice, they'll have linen tablecloths. They'll have linen napkins. Yeah, stretch it out all the way, and then you have to unfold it halfway. Keep her going. Keep her going. It's going to be, this auditorium is about 42 feet. This sheet is 45 feet. If you guys can unfold that and then hold it up and show them how long that dude is. Okay. So Bruce, hold yours up real high. And then John, hold up and pull it, stretch it tight. Stretch it tight, get it up there. Come on, get some muscle in there. There you go. That's a 6-foot high by 45-foot linen sheet. If you squint real hard, it looks like linen. All right, now do what I told you about the other thing. Walking in, just lay it down, then walk in, park, except you made it down this way, haven't I? All right. Get one on one side, one on the other. Stretch it nice and tight. Start walking. Look out, everybody. This came from a bug-infested... No, not really. It's brand new. Keep going. Keep her going. Keep going. And you can probably drape it over Tim Smith's head. Right about just past Tim, you can... If you look back there and see, that's the extent of the first layer. We'll go over that in just a minute. I just wanted you to get an idea how big this thing is. Linen is very durable. It has high tensile strength. That means you can pull on a fiber, and it's very strong. It's quick drying. It's resistant to moisture. It has silky. It's soft. It has low elasticity. That means it's not springy. It won't stretch and go back like that. It's actually a great insulator. And now, look at verse 2. The length of one curtain shall be 8 and 20 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits, and every one of the curtains shall have one measure. So it's 28 cubits by 4 cubits, and we're going to use an 18-inch cubit. That's pretty average. That makes it 45 feet by 6 foot, that one sheet, okay, made of linen. Now, that would be some expensive fabric right there, let me tell you what. Look at verse 3. The 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another, and other 5 curtains shall be coupled one to another. And thou shalt make loops of blue upon the edge of one curtain from the selvage in the coupling, and likewise shalt thou make in the uttermost edge of another curtain in the coupling of the second. 50 loops shalt thou make in the one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make in the edge of the curtain that is in the coupling of the second, that the loops may take hold one of another. Now, when you read this, when you read this, normally you think, but I spent a lot of time looking at this. A lot of time. Now, you take that thing, stretch it all the way across. There's 10 of them. That's going to make the first layer. 10 sheets. That makes them 60 feet long, 45 feet wide. This auditorium, I actually measured it for basketball once. If we didn't have this here, we could probably play in here. But 60 feet about from here back to the door, they had to be hooked together. They're hooked together into 2 giant sheets, and then those are hooked together later. Along the edge is 50 loops. Now, they don't describe how the loops are. I don't know. How are you going to put 2 pieces of fabric together? Well, you got 50 places. You could have a loop going through a slot. I don't know. They don't say. You can use your imagination. So you're going to put those 2 together like that. And look at verse 6. And thou shalt make 50 taches of gold, and couple the curtains together with the taches, and it shall be one tabernacle. So you got 50 gold taches, or some kind of a connecting thing, and they hold the loops together. Now, if you got 10 pieces of fabric, you have 9 seams, and you got 50 in each seam. So, math, how many is that? 450. You got to have 450 pieces of gold that are strong enough to hold those things together. It's not going to be your earrings. It's going to be something big. Neil, we probably could have calculated the tensile strength of that gold. I could have done that. I tried to do stuff like that. But that gold had to be, I'm guessing, at least take your pinky and make a loop out of it. It's got to be pretty heavy. Quite a bit. The 10, so that makes 9 edges, the 28 by 40 cubits. And if you put all 10 of them together, you've got 2,520 square feet of fabric. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. How much does that thing weigh? Okay, I went and looked up all this stuff about linen. They make linen. I actually had a linen shirt once. You could wear it for 3 minutes and it's all wrinkled. But it was very comfortable. And you know that a linen tablecloth, you know how those napkins, they're so nice, right? That's thin linen. They actually make linen, they make some at super duty level for real heavy duty stuff. They had like 4 levels. I picked the third most. I started doing the numbers on this for the weights, and I thought, this can't be right. It gets unimaginably heavy. And I figured it's a tent, so it's got to be at least the 3rd level. They make tents out of linen. Probably pricey ones, but if you take that, do the area, and they give you numbers for it, believe it or not, that one first level layer weighs 18,144 pounds. That's a heavy cloth. That's 9 tons for the first layer. It's going to be laying on something that better be strong, that's for sure. And I figured if I figured a 1/4 pound of gold, which maybe, I don't know, I just threw a number out there thinking it would be something strong. That's another 113 pounds, but what's another 113 pounds with 18,000? Look at verse 7. Okay, that's the first layer. The second layer, put on picture number 5. This, you can't really see it very good. Anyways, that dark part up there, that's goat's hair. Let's read verse 7. And thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to be a covering upon the tabernacle. 11 curtains shalt thou make. The length of one curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of 1 cubit 4 cubits, and the 11 curtains shall be all of one measure. Now we're getting bigger. We got 11 curtains. They're longer. We got more of them. And they're made out of goat's hair. How would you like to have something made out of goat's hair? You'd be paying a lot of money for it. Because they do have that. You ever heard of mohair? Mohair sweaters are pricey. Mohair is expensive stuff. They're 2 cubits longer. So now we got 30 times 4 cubits. We've got 11 of those. That's very big. Think about this. Look at. I'll read this to you. This is later on in Exodus. And all the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands, and brought that which they had spun, both of blue and of purple and of scarlet and of fine linen. And all the women whose hearts stirred them up in wisdom spun goat's hair. Look, I remember my daughter, she was at Bible college in home ec class, and one of the assignments was to make a dress and sew it by hand. How would you like to do that? For one thing, I don't know if many people in here can even make a dress, even with a sewing machine, but how would you like to do it by hand? How would you like to have to spin the thread first? Before you even wove it, you're spinning it. They're out there shearing the hair off the goats, and they're creating thread with that. They still do that. They use Angora goats. Over in Australia, it's a big thing. They have a great big machine that does all that stuff. Man, you're talking about some. Now look, we got about 3 million people sitting around with nothing to do. And they've all been slaves for 400 years, and they got skills. You know, we're losing skills, right? Don't societies lose skills? I mean, when's the last time you knew somebody who can something? There might be some oddball in here. Don't raise your hand because I don't want you to think weird. But I know preacher's mom, my mom, they can stuff all the time. But we're losing stuff like that. Can you imagine what's been lost in the last 3,500 years? And these people, they're incredible. This mohair, it's one of the most prized natural fibers. It's used to create everything from high-end sweaters and accessories to carpets and upholstery. And these Angora goats, amazing what they did. So they got to put 11 guys together to make 2 large curtains. One has 5, the other 6. Look at verse 9. And thou shalt couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and thou shalt double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle, and thou shalt make 50 loops on the edge of the one curtain, that is collarmost in the coupling, and 50 loops on the edge of the other collar. They're doing 50 again. And thou, verse 11, and thou shalt make 50 taches of brass this time, not gold, and put the taches into the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be one. And the remnant that remaineth of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remaineth, shall hang over the backside of the tabernacle, and a cubit on the front side, and a cubit on the other side. And of that which remaineth in the length of the curtain of the tent, it shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and on that side to cover it. You know, when you're reading this, normally you're thinking, yeah, but when you want to sit there and start looking at this stuff, it's like, wow. Wow. So we got an 18,000 pound layer number one. Then we got this goats here, and I could not find, I looked and looked, I couldn't find the density of goats here, of mohair. I looked and looked. Otherwise, I would have calculated that. So that we're not even going to include that when I go to the final at the end. All right, the third layer, look at verse 14. And thou shalt make a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering above of badger skins. Go to the next pick, number 5 or number 6. That's number 6, right? All right, that's kind of a nice little picture there. That they show you the linen. That's the first layer. By the way, it's not just white. You look at it's got all kinds of colors in it, and it's got cherubim sewed in it. The next one, the white one there, is the goat's hair, mohair, expensive. Then the ram skins dyed red, then the badger skin. Now, ram, of course, you know the rams were used in the offering, lots of offerings throughout the Old Testament. Peace offering, burnt offering, trespass offering, and it was the ram of consecration. Well, what did Abraham find in the bushes when he was going to offer his son? He found a ram. The ram skins, I'm talking about just skinning the ram, and then you have to dye it. Now, some of you may have ever had to gut something and skin it. We used to do that with our deer. In Michigan, in November, it's cold enough that the garage is like a refrigerator. Just hang it up out there and start cutting away, trimming off that skin, that hide. And, you know, hides are not very heavy. And especially if you tan them, and if they took all the hair off it and then dyed the leather, and then this thing here probably only weighed about 400 pounds to cover the entire thing. It's a lightweight. And then badger skin, the only time you mention the Bible is about a badger skin, and they used badger skins when it was time to transport the myriad of things in this whole thing. Not just this, they covered them in badger skins. Badger fur is very nice and soft. You'd like to rub it on your face if you had some. But you know what's kind of neat about badgers and wolverines for you Buckeye fans? Badgers and wolverines, they're all the same family. They are absolutely probably the most fierce mammal on the planet. You don't mess with badgers. I mean, bears don't mess with badgers. And there are lots of badgers worldwide. It's probably called the honey badger, most likely in this area. But by the time the children of Israel were done, they were no badgers for 100 miles around because they had to have a lot of badger skins. These poor badgers. And the badger's skin covering will be about 1,500 pounds. Now, boards. Okay, you guys bring out the boards. We got to look at the boards. Bring them out. You 8 guys. 2 on each one, and we're going to set them up in here. Now look at chapter 26, verse 15. And thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of Shiddum wood standing up. Now this wood, I tried to find a bunch about this, but this is an acacia. Go to the picture of the acacia tree. Number 7. That's an acacia tree. You've probably seen it, giraffes eating it, right? Yeah, I know I got teenagers doing this. Ought to be good. Okay, you guys take yours to the back. Keep going. Yep, there you go. Now, if there's a spot next to you that says reserved, they're going to be sitting down at it. Now, you guys, you have to, when you turn these things, turn them lay them flat when you stand them up. Because these aren't real wood. This is cheap old junk I found in the back. All right, just lay it down right there, John, and then you guys stand it up. You just have to watch out. It will hit that part over there. And then, hey, Judd, come over here and slide that chair so they got room in it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks. Drop yours, John, or not, or whatever your name is. Yeah. Brian, put it down. Put it down. All right, get them in there between them chairs and then sit down and hold it. One of you guys. Okay, Brian, move that chair a lot closer. All right, squeeze it in there. Somebody help these guys. Squeeze it in there, sit down and hold it, one of you. All right. Look how big those are, huh? Now, acacia, it's a tree that has lots of thorns on it. Giraffes have those long tongues that get around them, right? They have a lot of nice branches. They're very nice feathers. They have a nice fragrance. And the bark is it's a rough, black kind of a bark. But it's a very hard wood. This is not pine type. It's very fine grain. It's very heavy. It's immune to insect attack. Insects can't mess with it because it's just too hard, too strong. It's 23% harder than hickory. Some of you got spanked with a hickory stick, right? There you go. 23% harder. This stuff is hard stuff. It has a density of 43 pounds per cubic foot. So 12 inches, 12 inches, 12 inches, 43 pounds. And this is, look, I could have found numbers that were a lot higher. I picked that really low ones because the numbers got so big, I thought, this can't be right. So I picked the ones, they're listed. Now, look at verse 16. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the breadth of one board. 2 tenons shall be there in one board, set in order, one against another. Thus shalt thou make for all the boards of the tabernacle. Go to the next picture, picture 8. That's just so you see how. No, back up. That guy there is standing next to a fairly large one. Now, you got it. Now, again, we have craftsmen here that can take wood and create boards out of it, and it doesn't have to be one single piece of wood. People, they do that nowadays. Brother Wayne could probably do it. The people know how to work with wood, know how to put boards together. Now, this thing's 15 feet tall. It's 1.5 cubits wide, so that's 27 inches. So it's wide and tall. They don't say how thick it is, though, but I have some reasons about that. For reasons I'm going to just tell about later on, I think it was 9 inches thick. That's half a cubit for reasons later on. Now, again, this is hardwood. These here are metal pipes with, and by the way, if you strain really well, doesn't that look gold? Because they were overlaid in gold. How heavy was this board? Okay, 15 feet long, 27 inches wide, 9 inch thick, 43 pounds per cubic foot. If it's a solid board, one board, 1,100 pounds. You don't want to be walking by that when a windstorm, do you? 1,100 pounds. Now, I just thought that is just too much because there's 48 boards times 1,100. Even Ed mentioned something today, and I went and figured out. I asked Siri, how many semis would it take to carry this much weight? And she told me, and it was a lot of semis. So this is, so I came up with an idea. I read about this as an idea. What if they made hollow boards? What if they put board outside, shorter boards inside, went all the way up 15 feet, and it's hardwood, and I'm being super generous by saying they're only an inch thick. And Wayne might know better. Hardwood like that would be still pretty strong, right, if you put the joints together well. If you did that, we're giving all kinds of benefits here. It'd be 314 pounds per board. Yeah, that's manageable, right? We can pick that up. Now, on the bottom of these guys are two tenons. Go to the next picture. You already saw. That, for you woodworking people know this, a tenon and a mortise. Tenon is the part that sticks out, slides into the mortise. These are the old way to make furniture, nice and tight joint. You glue it in there. So on the bottoms of these guys are two tenons sticking out, made of the same wood, and they slide into stuff. Look at verse 18. And thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle 20 boards on the south side, southward. And thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, on the north side, there shall be 20 boards, and there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, 2 sockets under another. So I got 20 boards on the south side. Well, see, this would be the east. I'm going to make the east back there, west. Okay, that would be the south. That would be the north. So 20 boards going that way, 20 boards going that way, 314 pounds each, sitting on top of silver, and more than likely interlocking mortises that interlocked with one another. They estimate maybe 75 pounds per mortise, per socket, times 2 for each board, times 20, times 20. And we're still not done with the back. Look at verse 22. And for the sides of the tabernacle, westward, that's up here in front, thou shalt make 6 boards, and 2 boards shalt thou make for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides, and they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it unto one ring. Thus shall it be for them both. They shall be for the 2 corners, and they shall be 8 boards. And their sockets of silver is 16 sockets, 2 sockets. Now, we got 6 boards up here, but they got to join this wall and these 2 walls, and the way they do it is to add 2 more boards in a way. Go to the next picture. Okay, this just shows a mortise, a tenon on the top, a mortise on the bottom, 2 of them of the sockets. Go to the next one. And this is a guy came up with a great nifty way on how you could interlock these guys and then interlock the corners so that the 7 board and 8 board in the back will interlock with those side walls. We're talking about some solid stuff here. These walls are seriously put together, and they're very, very, very strong. So you got 12 more silver sockets plus another 2 that's 16 up in the back. Yeah. Okay, so it makes this guy here 10 cubits wide or 15 feet. So I got a tent here that's 30 cubits, 10 cubits, 45 feet by 15. This is out there in the back is called, up part of the way in, is called the holy place, and this is the most holy place up front, Brother Young, wherever you're belong there. All right, look at verse 26. And thou shalt make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 boards for the boards on the side of the tabernacle for the 2 sides westward. Man alive. So now, to hold these things even more together, on each board there are 2 rings of gold. I don't know how far up or down, they don't say, so I'm guessing maybe a third and a third on the outside with a ring stuck there, stuck there, stuck there, stuck there, all the way down there. And then the same thing back here, ring, ring, all the way across. And they're going to make these things and put these bars on the outside through the rings to help hold them all together. So for this long side, there's 5 bars total. 4 of them are shorter. They only go halfway. So one goes halfway along that set of rings, and in the back, halfway, the one down here, halfway. But the 5th board, this is crazy. Let me read you Exodus 36:3 and 33. He said, and he made the middle bar to shoot through the bars from the one end to the other. So take these boards lined up here and bore a hole all the way through. Probably used a laser, I imagine. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to think about strength. I mean, how big a dowel rod do you put between these guys? They're really not glued together because they got to be taken apart. So I said 2-inch diameter. 2 inches reasonable? I don't know. I didn't make a number. So that guy's 45 feet long, dowel rod, covered in gold. Try carrying that around. Then they made pins. I'm not even going to get into that too much. They made brass pins that I think sunk into the ground along the silver sockets to help hold them down. They use those also for the outside thing. Now, let's talk about gold plating. Sorry, I hope I'm not boring you, but men love this stuff. All right, gold plating. So all the boards and the bars were covered with gold. How do you do that? It's not gold leaf, folks. This is not melt the gold and then pour it on there and burn the wood. You're going to have to make some very thin sheets. Now, I tried to be really, I'm thinking, these boards got to be moved around, so the gold's got to be relatively strong on it, right? You can't put some thin, super thin gold leaf on there. It's going to scrape off. So I'll make a sheet. How thick should the sheet be? Well, if it was 1/16 of an inch, for one board, the gold would weigh 587 pounds. If it was 1/32 of an inch, it weighed 294. If it was 1/64 of an inch, that's what I settled on. Because I'm trying to give as much benefit to these oxen that got to pull those things as I can. So these guys here, 1/64 is 15 thousandths. If you took 5 sheets of paper and stacked them up, that's how thick the gold will be. And that's pretty good. 147 pounds per board, plus the 314 per board. Look at verse 31. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen of cunning work with cherubims made it be. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks, their gold, upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang the veil under the taches that were manifest, that thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark and the cusp. Now, this is talking about the Holy of Holies, which is back at this 1/3. So go from that pole to this pole, 1/3 over here, just a little bit past Mary the Young right there, right about there. That's going to be the Holy of Holies, and there's going to be 4 pillars there, right? Is it 4, wasn't it? Yeah, 4. And the 4 pillars are there, and they have hooks on them. And on top of that, the first layer, because it was so long, if you start it from the front end and get back where those 2 giant pieces were put together with the taches, they happen to line up exactly over the spot where that curtain's going to hang. Man, somebody thought of that. And they hook that up on them and on the hooks, and that creates the veil that cuts off the Holy of Holies. Pretty cool. Picture number 12. Yeah, okay, that's somebody's idea of what the curtain looks like into the Holy of Holies. They had all kinds of stuff sewn on it. I don't know. It's not, they had cherubims, okay, so it's not an angel. All right, now, we're going to get here quick. Okay, they have the door of the tent. The door of the tent, clear back there where Tim's sitting. Tim, you're just outside the gate there. You're just outside the tabernacle. That guy here, look at verse 38, 36. And thou shalt make an hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, route 99. And thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood and overlay them with gold, and there's hooks. They shall be hooked, and they shall cast 5 sockets of brass this time, right? So the guys in front here had silver sockets on the bottom. The guys out there had brass, 5 of them. Now, this thing's big. Let's figure out the total weight of this guy. All right? We got boards. We'll go with the cheesy, lightweight one. The boxes instead of the boards. So you take that box, 48 of them, with the wood and the gold, 22,000 pounds. 22,000 pounds. That's 11 tons. The average semi, they said, can hold was it 4 tons? But anyway, they didn't have semis back then. The bars that would go through there, 720 pounds. The silver sockets for the wall, there's 96 of them, 7,200 pounds. The pillars for the entrances, both entrances, there's 9 of them, 1,332 pounds. Silver sockets for the Holy of Holies, 300 pounds. Brass sockets for the entrance, 310 pounds. Total weight, 31,862 pounds. I said 31,862 pounds. People, that's big. And that's me being as conservative as possible. You read some of these commentaries, they're a bunch of idiots out there. They don't know what they're doing. Folks, and they had to put that up and down. And Brett told me, he said they thought they moved like 20 times after the tabernacle went up. Serious, how are you going to do that? That's a lot of weight with a lot of stuff. I'll tell you how you're going to do it. You're going to take, in Exodus 36, it talks about the families. You don't have to turn there, I'll just read it for you. No, that's Numbers, in Numbers chapter 3. Don't turn. Numbers chapter 3, it talks about, remember, the Levites, they were in charge of everything from that courtyard inward. And the sub-families of the Levites had their own special jobs. And this one family called the Gershon, they were in charge of a bunch of stuff in this thing we've been talking about. There were 7,500 men in that family. Now we've got 7,500 men. Not no sissies. Not like Simon. All right. Just kidding. He's bigger than me now. He's going to hurt me. The other family, the Merari, I don't know, they had 6,200 men. So you had 13,000 plus men from these posts and everything in it except the furniture. They're going to talk about that later. They didn't do that. Somebody else did that. Just the setup of this part, 13,000 people. So they had a workforce. And they got to have, pulleys and all kinds of stuff they're doing. It is amazing what they went through. And I'm going to close with this. Think about this. It took a lot of people to get the work of God done. And I'm sure, as detailed as this is, I'm sure they subdivided every job. They knew procedure, right? You guys know about procedure somewhere where some of you work. There's a procedure for everything. And I'm sure they developed something and knew, they're all probably sitting around the tents every day, waking up in the morning, getting the coffee. One day's looking out, the cloud went up. You know what that means? I'm glad I've been doing them push-ups, right? Because if you only move 20 times in 40 years, you're not moving that often. But, because you wouldn't want to move this that often. If it takes, let me ask you, what are you doing to help the work of God here? What's your part? They had a part. Everybody had a job. And when everybody does the job, things work good. And I hope you're doing something that God wants you to do here at church, all right? All right, you want to finish here? Okay.
All right, you guys gently bring the boards down, the gold-plated boards, before anybody does anything. Now, we're not done, just a second or two here. Can you go back? Yeah, there you are, good. Where we wanted to be. If you notice around the tabernacle, around the whole area, the small white flags, those are the names of, there's Kohath and Merari and Gershom. Those guys were right tight to the tabernacle. Now, remember this. I know you're watching these guys, but there you go. All of this is teaching. These people have been 100, maybe 150 years just residents in Egypt. They became slaves in Egypt. And they didn't have a relationship. They didn't know, and maybe they did, But I feel like they ran into the freshly painted wall. Hey, I bet. All this tabernacle, everything about this, it's helping them learn about a holy God. It's helping them learn about the sinfulness of man. Picture this. Down at the far right-hand side, you see the curtain's white all the way around. The gate curtain was different. It was woven with multiple colors. It was overlapped, so you couldn't see in. But if it was parted and you came through, the first thing you saw is an altar where things die. And then it's burned. You don't just jump into the Holy of Holies and see God. This thing of getting near to God, it took somebody dying. It's a very serious, you get saved, a little child can get saved, but the child doesn't understand how severe the whole process is. And that's why a consecrated life is so important. So next week we're going to be in the Holy of Holies with the Ark of the Covenant, and then we'll work our way out to the altar and the laver. But each one of these is going to teach principles about how to draw near to God. And they're things you and I read in the New Testament. But Paul wrote to the Corinthian church that those things that were written for our admonition, how to teach us, to admonish us. And so as we study this, and the reason I've got different staff guys, I think it's fresh having somebody new each week, because everybody can take 3 or 4 weeks to get one lesson when I got to come up with 7 a week. And so this is great, and I really appreciate Brother Beil taking care of that. If you didn't know that, he's our school principal, and I like having a school principal who's a man and a brain and knows how to sew. And anyway, why don't we pray? We'll go, thank you, Lord, for being so good to us. We'd ask your blessing on just when we read these passages, that they would not be maybe quite as dry. Just to picture those walls set in 75